in Tennessee. I've done it for the DOT in Atlanta. I've done it for the DOT in South Carolina, and I've done it for, well, I'm trying to negotiate with the DOT in North Carolina. So I'm trying to get it to all the DOTs with this presentation. So it's chopped up a little bit just for time's sake, but it does go over a lot of things that that all businesses need to think about, whether you're in construction or professional services, consulting. It's the same concept, just a little tweak here and there. And so again, it's high level, but it does cover some things that we normally don't think about. And the first thing we think about is this marketing that is very important, that a lot of people really don't take time to understand marketing when they're in their business. I'm not going to go over this again. You'll have these slides later. I went over it a little bit last time. I want to have the opportunity at the end to have questions because, like I said, some of the slides that I usually go over is not in here, but it might be some questions about some things that I said, but I didn't, really don't have a slide depicting that. Of course, that's my team. That's another thing about business. You need to have a team of folks that assist you. The team that assists you could be employees, or it could be independent contractors that assist you, or it could be suppliers. It could be anybody. So always have a team that you can always go to and trust and assist you in the things that you do. And like I said before, Marshall's not with us any longer. He passed away. But if you look at my team, you see that they were accountants. 3 people were accountants, and a marketer and HR specialist. And so just by my team, you know that accounting is very important. And I always say that accounting is the foundation of any business. You have to have that set up correctly. The other thing about accounting, if you are in construction, you'll get a lot of experts that says construction is an accounting business because you got to account for everything, every nut, bolt, and wood, whatever you are constructing, you got to account for because that's part of your cost. And that's what you hear me say quite a bit is cost. I will cover this chart again. This is a chart that my team developed a couple of years ago to kind of assist businesses in saying that everything that you do in your business is connected to one another. Your organization is set up on getting the work, do the work, and account for the work. And get the work is the sales and estimating. Do the work is operations, and accounting for the work is the administration part. And this is where we call it the 5 B's of project-based business: business development, bidding, building, billing, and banking. We did a little bit of business development last week. Today, we're going into bidding. And the whole thing about bidding is you need to know your cost. You need to do some profit planning. And do you have the human assets to accomplish what you intend on doing? Now, one thing I didn't say about this particular chart is that this is a life cycle of a project. You're going to go through these life cycles. I don't care what type of business you have, you're going to go through this. And one of the things that we say is that what this chart does, it will assist you in creating policies and procedures for these functions, so that everyone in your organization know in business development, what do we do? In the bidding phase, what do we do? And how do we do it? All that's answered. And it's like I said, it's not writing a book. It's just creating bullet points to say, this is first, this is second, this is third. We don't do this. This is the paperwork that we use to do this. You need to be creating that as you during your business, and looking at this chart will help you do that. And this is how we consult with our clients as going through this. We got templates and checklists for each one of those things. And matter of fact, each one of those B's is probably a 1-day workshop by itself, 1 to 2 day workshop by itself, with all the stuff that we've developed over the years with our clients. One thing about the DOT, this is, funded by the DOT. We know that the bipartisan infrastructure law, which is IIJA, people call it, infrastructure bill. It's a lot of money that's going through the states, and this money covers just about everything from automobiles to transit to pipeline to waterways, aviation, railroads, of course, roads and bridges, trucking. And one of the things that's not in here, it's kind of part of it, but not quite, is broadband. Broadband is another big funding area that's getting ready to break loose here in the state of Tennessee. I think the state of Tennessee has programmed in federal funds and state funds about $156 million to be spent on broadband by itself. So it's going to be a huge program throughout the United States. That was part of the IIJ bill. The construction industry, one of the things that's interesting about the construction business, 25% of construction business fail each year. Whether the business is 1 year old or 15, businesses fail. And most of the time, a lot of times they fail because of financial. Financial is a huge part of it. They bit off more than they can chew. They didn't have enough working capital. Suppliers, lenders did not give them credit. And so it leads back to small businesses really understanding their money and understanding the P&L and the balance sheet. That second bullet point, one thing about bidding and marketing is that a lot of time is spent on bidding projects. And sometimes we talk about bidding projects, it's also going after the right projects, looking and reading about the project. Do we want to do that? That's a lot of time and labor that's in there that we really don't account for, but we need a budget for it, because you're not being your customer's not paying you for that, but somehow we have to put that in our budget so that we are compensating ourselves doing non-productive activities. And we'll talk about that a little bit, but that's a whole nother class by itself. And it says, general contractors win 1 out of 6 bids that they submit. Subcontractors win 1 out of 7 bids. That's an average. If you find a contractor winning more than that, they're doing pretty good. But bidding is again time consuming. So that's why when you look at your marketing and going after work or going after a certain type of project or client, it needs to be funneled to the type client that you do well in. So you really have to focus on that marketing part first before you start putting down ratios, because one of the things you want to look at is your bid hit ratio. Every time you submit a bid, how many times have you won? So you do a ratio like that. And so the aim is around 25 to 30%. And there are some contracts that are better than that, because they almost have I won't say monopoly, they just have if they're in a rural part of the state, they can pretty much dominate the area, because it's not going to be a lot of businesses competing with them. But as we said before, some small businesses, if they do it right, can dominate their market if they put in the time to do that. So looking at a lot of companies say, I want to get the big score. You can get the big score with those big contracts, but you need some way to manage risk. And the way to manage risk is beating the odds, and and because you don't want to throw the dice all the time. We know how Las Vegas is, but we do want to know the odds. And how do we know the odds? Well, we do our homework. We do our market study, our market research, getting information in, uh, having our conversations. And the biggest thing that we want to do that we see in small businesses is a lot of companies bid on every project advertised in their inbox. And we say no. We have to stop bidding every project that comes across our desk, because again, it eats up time. And so we have a workshop. I did a workshop. I started a workshop some years ago called Bid Less but Win More. And a lot of people have heard that before. And so kind of think about that. And that goes back to what we talked about, the marketing part and the business planning part, where you're not bidding everywhere, but you're bidding on projects that look like you, projects that you do well in, and projects that you have a reasonable opportunity to make a profit. One of my construction gurus that I kind of follows is Dr. Thomas Schaffler. And he said, in order to have a successful company, you have to have successful projects. And successful projects are projects that you do well in. And so it's a kind of a simple statement, but it makes a lot of sense. We need to take time to understand what does that really mean? And we're going to get into it a little bit here. Remember, our last homework assignment was, why do we do a strategic plan? And the answer is down there at the why. To better define the type of projects to pursue. That's why you do planning. That's the only reason you do planning, is that you're defining the type of projects to pursue. Are you defining the best way to do business? Are you finding the best management style? Whatever it is, you got a plan to do it. And so this strategic one-page strategic marketing plan becomes very, very important in looking at the summary of your business. What are you doing? Your vision, the objectives that you have, your target markets that you picked out, and your marketing strategy. And all these, again, it's a one-pager. It's just the highlights. It's not writing a thesis. It's just the highlight bullet point keywords that will spark your energy and your attention to what you do each and every day. If not each and every day, at least every week, that you're doing something on that plan to get to that sales forecast that you are looking at. And of course, like I said, during the time you're doing progressive measurement to see how you're doing, as well as who's going to be accountable in my organization. Is it all me? Okay, it's all me, but I hold myself accountable, whoever it might be. But this becomes very important part of that you're pursuing the right type projects for your business. So what happens during the bid and proposal time? And I'm going to talk about this from a let's say a construction subcontractor standpoint, a small construction subcontractor standpoint, or you can be whatever. It's just you're handling a lot of information. So when you see an opportunity that's advertised, the first thing you do, you're scrambling to find the invitation to bid. You're struggling to find the documents that describe the project, the plans, the information. Is there some way to organize that? You spend a large chunk of your time understanding the project requirements and tracking down other information. Then somehow you submit a bid package just under or over the deadline, and you do it again next week, or you do it again the next day. And then you do all that, and then the job goes to somebody else. This is a tiring process. This bid proposal type can be very exhausting. And so that's why we go back to the other slide saying, okay, we're going after projects that we have a reasonable good time, reasonable opportunity to get. And you just got to know what those are. You got to do that assessment on your team, on your ability, on the products that you can get, the subcontractors that you have, the employees, uh, skill level. And so if you've ever been in a large organization, I say a mid-sized firm that's a project-based firm, when there's an opportunity to bid or to propose, when I say propose, we're talking about probably professional service contracts, you know, for architects, engineers, accountants, consultants. It's the same thing. You got to go through this same helter-skelter type of stuff, trying to submit stuff on time, make sure you got it the right way, and it's exhausting. And so, again, one of the things that I did, and I tell my clients all the time, is if you got a specialty, go ahead and put detail into your planning process of that specialty, of costing it out, pricing it out, writing out every detail while you got time, you're not under a timeline. For instance, if you know that you do drywall, well, pick out a place on your wall and say, I'm going to do 2,000 square feet of drywall to level 5 finish, and I'm going to do a detailed estimate on it and have all those items and everything already done while you have time. And then when a project comes advertised that's close to that, you can whip out an estimate or proposal quickly. Matter of fact, the contract that I have with the state of Tennessee, I requested their old RFP before I went after it. I requested the old RFP and looked at it, and I filled out the old RFP. Someone else had the contract. I had to wait 5 years before a proposal because that's Freedom of Information Act. I can get the RFP. And so I took my time, put the bid package together like I was bidding it, but taking my time. So when that 5-year contract was over, I submitted that proposal, that 5-year interval, and I got it. And that was 2006, and I've been having a contract with TDOT ever since. That's just, that's just one example of a, I saw the project, I saw I could have it. Matter of fact, it's the project I still have today. 2000, had to wait 5 years, but I had the documents already, and I put it all together leisurely over the next 5 years. And then when that 5th year hit, it was a breeze to do that proposal. And so that's what I'm talking about. The project looked like me, it sounded like me, and I went for it and got it. And so that's the same thing you need to do in your business. So the first tip that we're talking about, finding opportunities early. That's all we're doing. Will those opportunities come back again? No, but there are going to be opportunities that look like it from somebody or from the same agency, same customer, whatever. So you consider, lead generation services like Dodge and IMS, Plan Hub, Building Connect, SAM.gov, Apex Accelerator, which is UT PTAC, the Go DBE. They have a email listing, DBE supported services from TDOT. And of course, there's others bid lists that you can get on that will automatically hit your inbox. And just find opportunities by connecting with other business owners too, because sometimes when you're in it long enough, you will have other businesses that will call you and say, hey, I can't go after this. Do you want this? Because whatever. So there's opportunities there. That's the benefit of networking. But in order to make your search, your marketing search easier, you probably do need to look at some lead generation services. And actually, a lot of them are free. A lot of them you don't have to pay for. I'm sure a lot of you already know some of this, but putting this a part of your plan is what I'm saying. Write it down. These are the things that we look at, because when you start adding employees, you want them to know where to search to find opportunities, and for you to write down keywords that they need to look for in those opportunities that describe the best type projects for your company. Number two, be just kind of going back over, be selective. Time is money. Do your due diligence checklist. And here again, we have to write things down, because what we say, when we find things that are profitable, we want to make sure they are repeatable, because if they are repeatable, it makes all the sense in the world that you'll have consistent profitability in the things that you do. So we have to write down our checklist of things so we don't forget to do some things. Not every job is worth your time, therefore stop bidding on everything. We kind of said that before. By reducing the number of bids submitted may improve the quality and accuracy of your bids and proposals, because you're not in a hurry to do all these things. So reducing the number of bids that you submit will help that. Now, someone will ask, well, how many bids should I submit? Well, actually, I don't do it in this particular presentation, but there is a mathematical formula that says if you have a budget, and you can kind of do this on your own, just think of it in your head. If you have a forecast of sales that you want to hit, say $1 million, you want to get $1 million in sales, and let's say that your average project size is 20,000. So if your average project size is 20,000, how many $20,000 projects to reach $1 million?
50.
Yeah. So you got to do 50 projects. Can you do 50 projects in a year? They could be small projects. You can hump them out real quick. And so if it's 50 projects in a year, now the next question is, how many bids do I need to submit that I'm going to win 50 projects?
100.
So what'd you say?
100.
It might be 100, it might be even 200. There are some companies that's bidding a whole lot, and so you do those calculations based on your experience in the past. And there are companies that says, hey, we don't do any project under $100,000. So you have those. So those are the type of decisions that you have to make early on, so that you are consistent, that your employees are consistent in going after the right type of projects. Now, there are times, yeah, go ahead.
Don't you recommend we start small though?
Oh yeah.
Kind of grow that thing, grow it up a little bit.
Yeah, and I'm just throwing out figures. But yeah, you're correct. Yeah, you start small where you can control and manage it very well, because that was one of the key points in why businesses fail. They going after business that they're not familiar with, or do not have the resume to do. And there's a time and a place when you make that jump, but it's a calculated jump, and that's part of marketing, is knowing when those type of opportunities come up. The third tip is to know your competition. And it says but you got to know your strengths and weaknesses first. Who is your competition? And match your competition's strength where you can, but do not try to look like your competition. It's just part of marketing. And it says highlight key competitive advantages wherever possible. Now, again, a competitive advantage is something that you have that your competitors don't. And it doesn't have to be a breakthrough. It just have to be a statement that you can make on your marketing or on your website that just sets you apart. and creating competitive advantages takes time. Again, it's a part of that think time that owners and their sales and marketing people just got to sit around the table, kind of think and look at the competitors, see what they're doing, and see if you can make yourself look different and stand out. Tip number 4 about marketing: know your team's value. What's their experience? What's your experience? What's your qualification? Safety record. If we're talking about construction, safety record, reputation. Reputation is again, that's going back to asking your customers how you think we did, and getting testimonies from them so you can put on your website. Know your whole team expertise. And here's a big thing that we forget. Customer service is being looked at by customers more closely than they have before. And customer service is pretty much taking care of your customer, alleviating their headaches, their pain points. Anytime something comes up, you're able to help them out, but you don't want to do stuff for free either. And so there's a delicate balance in there on how to do that, but you do want to service that customer. And here's the other key part that I found, especially in construction, but also even in the engineering services, and especially in consulting services, is communicate. One slide ahead, communicate. Very, very important. The good and the bad. And timely communication. Know your team's value as far as the financial security of your team. And start implementing technology as much as you can. Everybody's in technology now. So one way to level the playing field with larger businesses is to employ technology, which is, look at the apps that you think you can benefit from, look at some of the hardware, software, and even equipment, whether it's office equipment or field equipment. Know your team's value. The other tip for marketing, we all know this. You got to build relationships. Of course, we're not all doing this type of exercise. You see at some of these icebreakers, the guy's attention falls away. He said, "Catch me," and he falls. Now, building a relationship is just taking time to know your customer or potential customer. And it's not always going to lunch. It might be just talking to them at events, or what I used to do with my customers, and a couple of my clients have started too, is I started emailing them industry news that they might not know. Just, hey, I read this about an industry that's related to my customer or my client. I said, hey, Sam, did you know about this? I thought this was a good article. We talked about it 3 months ago. I don't know if you saw this or not. And they'll respond, but hey, thanks, appreciate that. And sometimes it could be opportunities that you can't go after, but your potential client to say, hey, I saw this opportunity. It looks like something that you guys usually do. I would like to be a subcontractor on that. If you look at that and want to go after it, hey, remember me. That's part of marketing. That's part of building
Relationship
relationships.
building.
Now, the other part of building a relationship is that you want to develop a level of trust. And this is the key. Number 2 is key. Communicate outside the individual bid opportunity. Don't always wait for a bid or a proposal be advertised, then contact that client or that potential teaming partner. Do some communication well in advance. Again, you are looking at folks all the time to see if you would want to work with them. The third is take note who you work well with, because there are some companies that you don't want to do business with. And the word gets out from other people in the industry who, hey, you probably don't want to work with them. And number 4, we don't like it, but it is. people in general like working with people they know and like working with. You might have the fanciest product in town, but if they don't know you and they don't like you, you're not going to get in. They might try you, but more than likely it's not going to happen. So it goes back to building that level of trust and communicating with them. When there are pre-bid meetings or pre-proposal meetings, you probably need to go and ask questions. Let them, most people, you've seen people where, hey, my name is uh, Victor, and I'm the president of so and so, and I want to ask a question about. They always introduce themselves, and there was one guy that would do it all the time, and and we were talking, and he said, I go to these meetings and people know me. I said, yeah, they really know you because you ask all the time. He said, and he said it, and I didn't. I was just waiting. He said, and I ask stupid questions on purpose because they know me. They know me now. And he said, and then once I have a stupid question, then after everything is over, he goes and talk to people with real deep conversation and say, okay, this guy's he's about something. But anyway, you trying to create a presence. And sometimes this question don't have to be stupid because sometimes all of us don't have that type personality. But do ask questions so you can get noticed. That's marketing. Marketing is giving information and receiving information. Uh, Number three, I go back. I already said number two, but number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Communicate early and often. That goes back to communicating outside the individual bid opportunities. And communication can also be with companies that that is not your competitor, but they are, for all in purposes, they seem successful. And there are times when you are talking to someone about their business. Hey, I'm trying to go into this. I'm looking at this. I just know you've been in business for a while, and I set up this appointment just to ask you, could you mentor me, or what do you think about so and so as a new business or potential business opportunity? And sometimes they will know someone else that has an opportunity that they will introduce you to. So let people know what you're doing. You never know. And then, of course, you want to deliver quality work. That's part of building relationship. Going back to that communicate early and often, there was one of my clients that was she's still in construction, and recently Bell Construction in Nashville had I guess a change in ownership. And if anybody know Bell Construction is a pretty good size building contractor and bridge contractor in Tennessee. They built a lot of bridges and built a lot of big buildings. And if anybody been in downtown Nashville and saw the Batman building, they built that. The ownership kind of changed over the years, and they have one of the owners is a female who made national news because you do not see that many females have a ownership position in a multi-regional construction company. And one of my clients decided to call her up and ask for an appointment because she said, I'm a woman in business and I saw you made some national news. She'd been on some speaking circuits about breaking through the glass ceiling of a male dominated industry. And lo and behold, she said, yeah, come on. I love to see what you're doing, blah, 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 blah. Well, at the end of that meeting, she asked the young lady, said, do you want me to mentor you? And she said, yeah. She offered. And so till this today, I think that happened maybe 9 months ago. And they meet monthly, either at lunch or at at the office. So it does work. And one of the things, not that you're looking for bid opportunities, but bid opportunities do come through those relationships. Not all the time. So, because sometimes it might be contacts and then they give you other people's information. Another part of marketing is know the details. Knowing the details about the type of work you do, or knowing the details about the industry that you're in, it's what's in red. It just increases your confidence in deciding to bid or not to bid. Now, bid or not to bid, that's another, I usually have a chart for that. And that's a series of steps and checklists that you need to go through at every opportunity that comes to you. But a short list of this is, you got to read and you got to reread the solicitation, the plans, the specs, or whatever the customer wants. You got to know the skills and expertise of your staff. You got to know the true cost of doing the work. And I'm going to show you an example when knowing the true cost. This becomes very, very important when we talk about construction, but well, anything, but particularly construction. Cedric, how many construction related firms do we have on this call?
We actually have quite a few.
Okay.
I was going to do it a little differently. Right after our breakout, I was going to do the roll call. I can't remember who's in the class. But I know we do have a few that's kind of in construction.
Okay, construction or related to construction.
Yes.
Okay. The true cost of doing the work, you got to know the true cost of doing business. Now, the true cost of doing business, another way of saying this, and I have a quick example of that at the end here. I don't go into very much detail, but the cost of doing business is your overhead, your general and administrative expense. If you did not have one revenue stream coming in, if you had zero coming in, what does it cost you to stay in business and pay your people for a full year? You need to know that.
I want to know that answer right now, though.
Pardon me?
I want to know that answer right now.
Well, I have a quick example that I will do. It's a high level, but it will get you to thinking on what you probably need to do to kind of detail that, because this is something that you probably do need a consultant to kind of walk you through, because a lot of people do not give a lot of time to this, and this is the very, very important part of maintaining profitability and sustainability. And then that leads to the last bullet there: know your capacity, capability, and capital. Capability is being able to do it. Capital is money, and capacity is how much can you do. And so those are things that you got to work on, because at any given point, you might have the capital in your business that's adequate, but you might not have the capacity to take on new work. And that's a balancing act that a lot of businesses don't look at. And that's what gets them in trouble, is they do not look at this balancing act between cash flow. And again, there's difference between cash flow, and then there's capital, and capital can be either equity or it can be borrowed. And when I say equity, it's money that's in there. And so that could be equity or borrowed. And then capability is the capability of your company, the capability of your staff, your capability, your management maturity, all that goes into place. Again, I say it all the time, the businesses that I've met over the past 22 years, a lot of them have not taken the time to do this. And that's why a lot of them do go into some of the small business programs, so that they can get some of this assistance at no cost to them. But again, you got to do the homework, because you can't come to the table cold. If you go to the table cold to a consultant, they just roll back and fold their arms. You got to do the homework to give them the information so they can decipher what's best for you. Tip number 7 in marketing: get it right before you submit. Avoid doing quick estimates and guesstimates. I've seen this more than, I don't know, all the time. Check for errors. Make assumptions that are as accurate as possible. If you know the industry, you can make some assumptions that's accurate. Whether you, I mean, just like if someone was to build, like the hot thing now is real estate, Airbnb, spec homes. You're gonna build a custom home that you don't have a customer. You build a home that nobody wants because you didn't do your homework of what are people asking for in the market, and it's not that you go out and ask everybody. You can, but there's plenty of studies that's out there that's for free that you read. You know, what's the average square foot that are being built now that's popular? What's those price points? What area of town do the chamber and the planning commission is putting time in? Is this affordable home area or is this a custom home area? You know, so make assumptions, but be as accurate as possible. Spend sufficient time reading the bid document to understand the scope of work. That's the plans. Or if you are a professional services person, the potential client will give you a scope of work. They will give you a scope of work. You read that scope of work and understand what are they looking for, what are they requesting from the consultant. Before submitting your bid, double and triple check. A lot of errors have thrown out a lot of proposals because people didn't check their spelling or didn't check that the federal government wanted your proposal on recycled paper. You'll see some crazy stuff in proposals to see if the proposer is reading. There was one proposal that I did. The government wanted you to copy, and this is when you was given paper copies back. You was mailing your proposal in. They wanted you to actually copy that page out of the proposal book and put it into your proposal, unadjusted. And if you adjusted it and made a new page that made it look like it, they threw it out because you didn't follow instructions. It's interesting, but I don't know if a lot of them do that now, but it can be. Read the instructions carefully. Go back to the request for bid and ensure you address, what they requested. If something is unclear, you need more information, don't be afraid to ask clarifying questions. I see that a lot where people will guess what the customer is asking. They got their phone number and email in there for a reason. Use it. Again, all this is a part of marketing, getting information and giving information. And then if you don't get the bid, this is what perform a post-bid review. Even if you some bids that are proposals that I submitted and I won, I still went to my customer's office and said, can I look at everybody else's proposal? Yeah, I've done it every time. A post-bid review on every submission can help you improve your next bid and may increase your win rate. Remember that bid that I went after in 2000 whatever, and I didn't win it? I went to the office and said, could I see the proposal? They won't let you take it home. You got to get there and you can open up a paper copy of all the proposals. And I read all the proposals, see what everybody submitted. And I said, oh, okay. You can take pictures of the phone. You can make, I don't think they let you, yeah, I think they did. They'll make you make a copy. You can't copy the whole thing. But it does give you a clue in what everybody's doing. Can you do that with hard bids? No, not necessarily. But most government agencies will submit bid tabs. If you're looking at local, state, federal, they'll let you do a bid tab. Federal government will let you review bid proposal submittals. Private industry, no. Private industry won't, unless you have a good relationship with someone inside the team that's over procurement. They will bend the rules every now and then. Anyway, like I said, it is time well spent. And then ask yourself, what could you do better next time? Again, you do this to know what the competition. This is how you get to know your competition, because in those bid proposals, especially those written proposals on professional stuff, you see everybody's resume. You get to see the other team's resume. Who do they have on their team that I didn't have? Make note of it. Again, that's kind of on the professional services side. But if you're looking at construction, you kind of see who do so-and-so has, who do they have as a superintendent? Who do they have as a vice president? Who do they have as a foreman doing the type of work that we do? And then pay attention to what types of projects you frequently win, because that begins to tell you who you are. And ask for a debrief. If you're truly interested in working with that particular prospect, you want to ask, again, it goes back to that communication. Communicate often. And then again, adjust your approach and have it market focused. The tips, we went over the bid or get the information early. Don't wait till the last minute to bid. Be selective, know your competition, promote your value, build good relationships, be detailed, get it right, and do a post-bid analysis. And I think this, again, like at the bottom, it said, this will increase your odds of winning profitable projects without undervaluing your service. Because if you don't do these steps, you're going to leave some things out. And so it won't give a true picture of who you are, even if you're submitting just hard bids. If you submit bid that's real low, that means, hey, either you really want it or you miss something. If you submit a bid that's real low, you probably missed something or underestimated your ability. And me personally, I always say I do not submit low bids. I submit bids that will build the project or do the scope of work that will leave me with a reasonable profit. I don't look, when I do bids, I don't try to lower my bid. We teach that in my firm. We don't, when we bid what it costs us. And then we price it to the prospect. And so let me just review right quick. The marketing is, you remember the people part of the business, build relationships. It's all about coordination and cooperation. And remember, for small business, we need to stop marketing price. Stop marketing price. Start marketing everything else that we've talked about. And when you market, you're marketing to your prospect, you're marketing to your customers, you're marketing to subcontractors, vendors, and primes. You're marketing to everybody. It's not just the customers. Everybody becomes a part of your team. And here's the thought that you need to remember about risk. And these things can lead to a business failure. You're bidding a project that's more than 2 times the size that you normally are accustomed to. You're in a new geographical area that you're not familiar with the jurisdiction regulations. You do business with an unknown customer. You're doing a new type of work that you have no experience in. You got key personnel that's very mobile now. You got to make sure that you pay attention to your personnel and your HR and your employee engagement now. Especially if you got a good employees and good key people. You got to take care of them. Management maturity. And the last part, but most important part, not knowing your financials can cause you failure real quick. And so these are the risk areas that will take a business out. The project is too big, a new area of the state or a new area of the US that you're not accustomed to. The customer, you have no idea who it is, but you just saw the proposal, you saw the plans, you like to build it. It's a new type work that you're not familiar with. You got key personnel that's upset with you. You don't have the management maturity to manage a larger site type project or a certain type strategic project, and you don't even pay attention to your financials. Any one of those will knock you out. And that's the thing about it. Studies have shown when companies make these type decisions, it takes about 3 years to knock yourself out of business. It's a slow, you don't know it hits you. One day it just hits you real quick and you think it was just that 1 month. No, it was probably 30 to 36 months leading up to those same decisions that you were making, because you never looked back and evaluated what you were doing prior to. So I just put that slide in to kind of like that. That's the stopping point, Cedric, before I get into the bidding and estimating. So you can do your roll call, I guess.
I appreciate it. Thank you everybody for staying with us. I'm gonna do a quick roll call. I already kind of got it, but I still want to do a little something different this class, switch it up a little bit. Excellent. A trucking. Excellent. A trucking. Wood Mechanical.
Present.
Thank you, sir. Boss Entities Construction LLC. Dr. Woods Trucking LLC. K&J Express LLC.
Yeah, I'm here. I'm here.
Thank you, sir. Property Enterprise Incorporated. Property Enterprise Incorporated.
I saw them
Here.
earlier.
Thank you, sir.
Here.
Yes, I'm here.
Got you. Building Construction Management. Building Construction Management. I see you, Brandy.
We are here. I don't think our audio is working.
Okay, thank you. A1 Electrical. A1 Electrical. I see you, Willie.
Present. Hey,
Thank you,
Vic.
sir. Grind City Transportation.
Present.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Patterson Enterprises Incorporated.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Harris and Associates.
Present.
Thank you. And I see somebody called in, it's the 177. What's the name of your company? We have a call in that ends with 9531. What is the name of your company? Okay. At this time, Victor, you would like to, we want to take our 10-minute break? Victor and Beth?
Yeah, we can. And when we come back, we're gonna start on the fundamentals. If that's up there, if
That's
everybody's
okay,
with
everybody?
that.
I want to take a quick 10. All right, I got a few thumbs up. Okay, we will come back at 7:12. 7:12 p.m. Central Standard Time.
Okay.
See you then.
I'm ready, Cedric, if you want me to start.
Yes, sir. We ready.
Okay. All right, here I go. I'll probably be moving through these slides. I want to go through quick, see if there's any questions that we have, but it's basic. Like I said, I took out some detail to get into some examples that I had. So just kind of go quickly. This is the construction estimating workflow. Just quickly, you see kind of what we talked about, becoming familiar with the job, inspect the job site if you're not familiar with it, review the contract documents and plans, attend any pre-bid meeting. But if you decide to bid on a project, you need to determine the cost. There's for construction, before you put a bid together, you have to know how much material is to be installed. And from the material takeoff of the plans and specification, you can determine the project quantities and the material costs, the direct labor, and the equipment costs. And which labor and equipment is considered the crew cost. So you want to look at the crew and you will look at the costs. You look at the materials and the costs, and that leads to direct costs. And you need to see if there's any subcontractors or other material suppliers that you need to get quotes from. And then there are other direct cost that goes into that project direct cost. And then when you're doing this, it's probably a good idea to say, what type of schedule will this project require? When will the customer need me? How long will it take? And again, this right here is phone calls. You can't do this on your own. There's phone calls to the owner, phone calls to the general contractor, whoever you submitting your bid to. That goes back in. So once you see that you have the schedule and the time to do it, and it's reasonable based on your time and the owner's schedule, then you can start adding your job site overhead. This job site overhead is overhead that a lot of people forget. This is overhead that occurs in the field. This is your supervision cost, the cost of the superintendent, the truck, laptop, and whatnot. The labor burden is the same thing. You need to add payroll taxes. A lot of people forget to add payroll taxes onto the labor costs they got, and it got to be accurate. And then once you add that markup, there's another markup called the company overhead markup, or general administrative. And then once you add those markups, then you can add your profit. And then if the project requires a bond, that's what your bond is based on, is all these costs, and then you have the bond costs. All these costs are added up, then you have the bond based on the price. Then that becomes your total price. This chart can kind of be confusing and a lot of lines and stuff, but we'll talk about it again just quickly. But it is a process that everyone needs to go through if it's construction related. This is an example of a work breakdown structure. We've heard work breakdown structures before. So if you had a bridge culvert or a drainage culvert, you got the project, but what is this project made of? It's made of your home office overhead and your job site overhead to supervise this. And then the concrete culvert part is made up of a structural excavation part. It's made of concrete and reinforcement. And structural excavation, you got to excavate, you got to put field material in, you got to compact it. For concrete, you got to put forms, you got to pour it, you got to strip it, and you got to cure it, reinforcement steel, you got to sort it and place and tie it. Now, the interesting thing that I tell people all the time when they do a work breakdown structure of their specialty, this right here is like someone, that's all they do is concrete covered or concrete bridge, small bridges. Each one of these boxes that you see has a cost tied to it. And the cost going to be either labor, material, equipment, subcontractor, or other. It could be all of them, or it could be just one. And so when you do detail estimating, especially in when if you're a specialty contractor, you probably need to break down your projects like this. This concrete cover is part of a larger project, a larger road project. Or it could be just a drainage project that the city said, hey, all we want to replace is this concrete covered on this road. Well, this is the breakdown for it. Each one of these have a cost, and each one of them have labor, materials, equipment, or subcontractor or something. And you know, and they need to be assigned those costs. Now, what you see here is a bid template that I've developed for contractors. Let's say that this particular contract, it could be for anything, but this particular one is for concrete sidewalk. And so what you want to do in detail estimating is you want to have your description, and then you want to have the quantity of sidewalk that the project is asking for. Then you need to know what's your production rate, how many square foot per day of sidewalk can your crew install? Now, this is a figure that you got to come up with, that you know the productivity and skill level of your crew. And then you have to input the number of hours they're going to work, 8 or 10 or whatever hours that you're going to calculate to, to pay for those individuals. And then the template would calculate the number of days, the crew hours, or the man hours. Another part of this, just put it in concrete sidewalk. We need a labor foreman, concrete finisher, a semi-skilled labor equipment operator. We have the quantity of each and their unit costs, and it is extended over in this column. And you see, I have a note that says I need to review the standard drawings and specifications to make sure that I put in the right specification for this particular concrete. The materials that I need to buy is, of course, the concrete. I need to buy forms and braces. I need to buy form oil, the reinforcement, if any, expansion joint material, and curing compound. And then I need to know the quantity of those, times unit costs, and then those get extended. And then over here are rates that you will find on the standard drawings and specification. You know, the concrete, it says 2,500 square feet, but it's 4 inches thick. And according to 4 inches thick concrete, that's 0.0123 cubic yards per square foot. Why would anyone want to know that? Well, that's how the city or the state looks at your production and your performance. These are calculations I got off of state DOT plans. They do this very often. And I want to take in consideration that I probably have 10% waste of the concrete. So I'm going to increase my concrete amount by 10% because most of the time you'll have some waste on concrete. So we want to account for that. Form oil is applied at a rate of 600 to 1,000 square foot per gallon. Same thing with expansion joint material. You want to put it in every 25 to 30 feet apart. The curing compound is applied at a rate of 300 square foot a gallon. All this stuff is from either the manufacturer or the state DOT or the city that's doing sidewalk. And then you got your labor, material, equipment. Then now you got your equipment. You got a skid steer loader, concrete vibrator. You got a compound spreader, sprayer. You got concrete work tools. You got a pickup truck with an equipment trailer. And each one of the, how many you gonna have of those? And it has a rental rate, internal rental rate. These are equipment that you own, but you're going to charge it to the job, and then that's extended. In this particular example, you won't have any subcontractors, but this ODC is other direct costs. So sometimes I'll put in, because it's hot, I'm going to put in for water, ice, and cups, $15 a day for my crew. Safety supplies and accessories if needed. This right here needs to reflect the number of days that you're going to be out there. I didn't put the 2.94, I put 3 days out there. You want it to be consistent. That's some things you got to check. Then once you do that, all these extended numbers here in this column is in this column. So now you see that your labor is $4,000, your materials $7,000, your equipment is $2,700, other direct costs is $25. And then you estimated your cost here. You estimated this particular project, excuse me, let me go back. You estimate this particular project. Now you want to price the project. When you price the project is this here, your labor burden, which is the same thing as payroll, taxes, job site overhead is basically supervision on the site. This is your superintendent, his truck. It might be a porta potty. You see, any of this stuff is not over here because these are not direct. This is not direct costs. These are costs that support the job, but they're not direct costs. But you got to account for that cost through this percentage. And this percentage is over here is calculated using your profit and loss statement to calculate these real markup numbers. These are not made up. And then your home office overhead, it's a calculated number based on your profit and loss and how you manage your job. Put an 8% profit. I could have easily, here you have opportunity to put 8, 10, 12, whatever you think the market would bear and where you get a reasonable return for your effort. And then the bond cost is what you get from your surety of how much bond will cost for this particular job. I just said 2%. So anyway, you got a total cost. Your total cost is $13,730, but your total price is $19,406. When you bid DOT type work, they want to look at the unit price. So the unit price is $7.76. And how you get that is you take that 19,400 and divide it by the quantity of work, which is 2,500 square foot. And so this unit price become $7.76 per square foot. These are the numbers that your customer will see. They will not see this detail sheet. This is yours. But when you are doing infrastructure work, road work, bridge work, airport work, this is how you need to develop this is the accurate way to estimate and come up with a bid price. If you're not doing that, you're probably leaving money on the table. Somebody. And but this is what we're going to talk about going through the couple of the slides that we're going to go through is how, every time we have a job, we're going to look for labor, materials, equipment, subcontractors, and other direct costs. This is a lot of work, but when clients go through this, they are profitable. And this mirrors other estimating softwares on the market. This is just an Excel spreadsheet that just got a little brains to it. So let's just kind of go through estimating right quick, and then we get into some number crunching in a second here. You need to be organized. and document your data. You need to be detailed and factual, just like I saw. Base your estimate on historical data. Well, the historical data was what I used in this. Use predictable, measurable, repeatable process. That's the checklist. That's the template. That's the software. We just got through showing you that. Always monitor your progress and make adjustments. That's what we will do. If we get that bid, we're going to keep up with that labor, materials, and equipment number to see if we are on budget. And this is the thing that a lot of people need to understand. Know and understand your costs. And your cost is labor, materials, equipment, subcontractor, and the job site overhead. These are costs that occur in the field. This right here is direct costs. Direct cost is labor, materials, equipment, subcontractor. Job site overhead is supervision costs. But when you put all this together, it's called job cost, total job cost, yeah. You want to make the P&L, your profit and loss statement, comparable to the estimate. Revenue minus job cost minus overhead equal profit, and we'll show an example of that. And here's the statement we always got to learn. Cost first, then you price. And when I say price, know your job cost, and what you add last is your overhead cost and your profit. Those are added last. We'll go back to that in a minute, but again, this is just a checklist. This is a checklist that we talked about earlier. You know the scope, you read the spec book, you read the plans in detail, you go to the meetings, you document the site visit, know the quantities, know the price of the materials, the price of your labor, and their production rate, obtain subcontractors, supplier quotes, calculate all your taxes, insurance, and bond costs, apply the overhead, and apply any contingency and markups. Then you calculate your profit. You got to go through these steps to have an accurate estimate and bid. There are estimating references and resources that you should be using. You could use in construction is RS Mean Cost Data Book. These books have unit costs on about every type of construction activity you can think of, even maintenance activity, landscape activity, HVAC, electrical, plumbing, concrete, asphalt, dirt moving, irrigation. These books, very expensive, but they give you an idea of what something costs. You should not use the cost, but it does give you a ballpark of where your cost should be. But you still got to go through the detail what I did to get that cost to match these figures here, and they are adjusted geographically throughout the nation. Walker's Building Estimating Book is another good reference. The book that I wrote myself was it's about road construction, particularly for the small subcontractor. That's where a lot of my material came. A lot of material that I created is in this book, and I use it on my workshops. There's numerous software programs. You can create your own spreadsheets and templates. Reference materials is construction plans and specs, and of course, your historical records. Again, I won't go over that, but these are things that you do, because once you get all your cost assemblies and you sum it, it'll become a quote. Then that quote will become your project budget, and that project budget you would create from your activity, your job cost reports, and that will create your cash flow and job schedule. And of course, your daily field reports will add to that. So once you bid a job and submit it, that your job is not done. You got to redo that estimate, that bid, to become a budget. And then that budget need to be put into your accounting system so that you can have a budget versus actual, or estimated versus actual, and you are monitoring that throughout the time that you're doing that project. Those are some of the things I said before. Here's something you gotta remember again. I'm gonna say it again: cost first, then price. Your cost is here. Your price is is markup plus the cost. Cost first, then worry about what's going to price, what's going to cost you, and then you put your price on. And of course, in construction, we're talking about labor, materials, equipment, subcontractor, other direct costs, and job site overhead. Labor, we need to know the classification of each type of work, the labor productivity and the skill level, the wage rates, the labor burden rates are the payroll taxes. Are other additional fringes required? Any additional labor required? Any special notes? Will overtime be required? Again, these are checklists that you ask yourself when you go after each and every job. Same thing on materials. You gotta, what materials you gotta use? You got to read the proposal. You got to understand the specification, the CSI divisions of project. What items are you going to self-perform and which ones you're going to give the subcontractors? All those decisions need to be made before you start diving into the details. And of course, on DOT and public works and city projects, they do the material takeoff for you. They have an estimated quantity sheet right there in front of the drawings. Before you get into detail, all that's taken care of, but you do need to double check those numbers of material quantities that the state or the city is putting in the plans. And of course, you want to get written quotes from all your material suppliers. You want to make sure that when you do your additions and multiplications that you're using the same unit of measure. Is it linear feet? Is it square foot? Is it cubic feet? Is it cubic yards or whatever? And every time you're doing anything in construction requiring materials, there's going to be some waste quantities. And we need to know the average waste quantities of things that we put in the field, because we're going to add that waste to our estimate so that our waste is accounted for and paid for by the customer. Waste does occur. That waste in the estimate that I showed previously, I said we got concrete, but I'm going to add 10% more concrete because of waste. And so when I waste or the subgrade is not level, I'm making up for that extra concrete because it just happens, you know. But as you get into doing certain type of work, you know what those waste figures are those contingencies are, and you add that to your bid. Know what items are long lead, and any of the support tier materials that you have, ladders, forms, scaffolds, generators, put that in your bid as a rental. And it could be a lump sum type in that bid, or it could be on a per hour basis. It can be done, but you got to do your homework on how to do it that fits your type of work. When you do bid, sometimes it's good to know if you can get stored material clause, stored material to get money up front for material that you put on site until it's ready for you to install. And you always want to know if you can get any material discounts. Material discounts are available to those contractors that do a lot of work with those suppliers or those manufacturers, and you just ask, can I have some discount on materials I'm going to buy next year? I did $3 million of materials from you. Can I get a discount for next year around 3%, 4%, 5%? Let's talk about it. It has happened. I've seen it happen. But you got to be a good customer and pay your material payables on time. And I've seen a contractor she was able to get 4% discount on future purchases because she purchased so many materials from this one supply house and paid on time. Same thing with equipment costs. It's important to have accurate quantity and price on equipment. So when you estimate a job, I mean, that's your top priority is for labor equipment and materials, but especially labor and material to be accurate, because in the construction industry, if you do it right, your equipment can become, excuse me, your material can become a profit center for you. It can become a profit center. And that's another workshop that I have to show how truck drivers and people with heavy equipment can increase their profitability if they understand and know their costs and do these calculations. And of course, if you got subcontractor costs, if you got subcontractor items that you're not doing, you want written quotes from your subcontractors. You want to pre-qualify your subcontractors. You want to verify they bid. When you're bidding something, are you required to use DBE, women-owned business, unions, and other type things? And I always tell everybody, I always do a preliminary job schedule, see if you have the time and availability to do that project. And because if you don't, you might have to self-perform it, or you get a subcontractor to self-perform it, whatever that might be. In some cases, you can't do that. But if you want to improve your company's profitability, you need to know your costs. That's estimating. You need to understand your costs during the bidding. You need to control your costs. That's project management. And you need to track your costs, and that's job cost accounting. And then you make improvements along that. And one of the most important part here is this right here, job cost accounting. You need to, if you're in the construction industry, if you have any type of equipment, you need to do job cost accounting. It needs to be set up in job cost accounting setup. So let's look at bidding and pricing right quick. This is a chart that I developed to kind of make it easy to understand about this bidding and pricing. So the total contract or bid price, this is what you give. This yellow here is what you give the customer, is what you give the prime contractor. It's made up, let's go to the bottom. It's made up, just what we talked about. It's made up of the labor, the material, and the equipment, and the subcontractor costs that you got. The labor, material, equipment, and subcontractor, that's direct costs. Now, this chart is set up on a job cost setup. So you got labor, materials, equipment, subcontractor. That's direct costs. Though this cost right here, this direct cost, that's the cost that the plans and spec is made up of. This is what your customer wants to see built. Now, in order for that to be built, you have to supervise it. And this is job site overhead. This job site overhead supports what's happening with the direct costs. So it's a superintendent that's on salary. It's his truck, it's his laptop, it's his cell phone, it's the porta potty, it's the generator, it's the ladder, it's things of that nature that support what's happening in the field. And again, job site overhead is also your payroll taxes. That's where, because job site overhead supports the job. It's not on the job, but it supports it. Direct costs touch the job. It has a hammer or a nail in its hand. It's direct. So when you add your direct costs plus your job site overhead, it becomes job costs. That's your total job costs. That's your labor, materials, equipment, subcontractors, and overhead. Now, the job cost is managed by the office overhead, because this is where you do your billing. So now your office touch that project from not on the job, but from a support level. And so your office overhead includes the owner, the secretary or the administrative assistant, the lights, the rent, the utilities of that office. And you taking a portion of that cost to have that office to be on that job, because that office has to submit the invoices. they have to submit whatever else is required, the insurance, that, so they got some portion, they have to be compensated for that. And then that job site, then that job cost plus the office overhead is called the total cost. The total cost. And the last thing that you add is how much profit you want on that job. That's the last thing you add is right here. So when you submit this bid, the only thing that customers see is this yellow. They don't see all this detail. So if they come to you and say, your price is too high, and you said, my price is too high, and you say, yeah, I said, do I need to take anything out of my price? No, your price is too high. So if they say that and they don't change the scope of your project, the only thing that you can reduce is you go back to your office and you see how much profit you have in it. You don't look at all this. If they have not changed the scope, the only thing that you change is how much profit you want in that job. If you had 15% profit, next time you go back to them and said, okay, here's my new price. Instead of putting 15% profit, you put 13%, see if they'll take it. But again, a part of planning is you are telling your estimator that the least amount of percentage of profit that you're going to put on a job. It might be 8%, it might be 10%, and you will not go below it. But in order to do that, you have to go through this exercise and those templates that I showed you before in order to be comfortable and confident about this method of cost and price structure. Again, this is a quick overview. There's not a lot of detail. Let's move on here. And what we have here, let's look at this. Job site overhead, office overhead, and profit. These are called cost recovery. Cost recovery, because we're recovering our costs because of what the customer wants. The customer don't want to see this, but they're going to pay for it. And so we're trying to recover our costs because what they see is the labor, materials, equipment, and subcontracting. And so we do cost recovery. So this is a quick example of, let's say that you went through a detailed estimate. You went through a detailed estimate and you got your labor costs, you got your material costs, you got your equipment, you got your subcontractor costs. Now we put our estimate summary together. We add up our labor, materials, equipment, subcontractor. It comes up to 137,600. That's all. This is it. We did a lot of detailed work. Now we go to the second part of the detailed work. The second part of the detailed work is the pricing. We did the estimating up here. Now we're doing the pricing. The pricing is, I got to pay payroll taxes. I have to pay payroll tax. It's required. So my payroll on the job, which is $55,000, my payroll percentage markup is 25.93%. Where did I get that from? I got that from my profit and loss statement. It's a ratio comparison. Like I said, I don't have time to go through it in this session. That's a whole class by itself on how to calculate these percentages in red. But this is the accurate way to mark up your projects accurately. All these numbers, percentages in red is based on your profit and loss, your last year profit and loss, and projecting what's going to happen in a year. So the easiest way to do this is say, okay, if I look at my profit and loss, just take this labor burden, for example. If I paid $55,000 in labor last year, all last year I paid $55,000 in labor. If I look at my profit and loss, in payroll taxes, I paid $14,261. That's all it's saying. And 14,000 divided by 55 to give you 25.93%. You're taking last year and put it into your estimate. I'm just working backwards. So, but you use your P&L to get that, and that's a relationship between direct labor costs and burden costs. So that's added to the estimate. Your job site overhead, that's another one. How much did I pay in my supervision costs and my job site costs and in relation to my direct labor? Because my supervision on site would not be out there unless my labor is there on site. So there's relationship there. So it was 34.34%. So I had 18,900 to my estimate to pay for my superintendent, his truck, the porta potty, the safety vest, the water bottles, the cups, the ice, the generator, all those types. That's what this here. You add that together, and that 170,808 is your total cost, is your total job cost. Now I have to compensate my office. My office, a relationship between my total office costs and the project cost is 7.81% based on last year. And I want to take that last year percentage, put it in my this year's estimate. Now my office is being paid for $13,340. That because my total cost. Now my price to my customer, I'm gonna add 10%. So I'm adding 18,400. And so my bid price is 202,562. Everybody got that? That's a quick example. This what this is called multiple overhead markup. A lot of the super big companies do this. The small companies don't do this unless they are my client. I teach this method. And let me tell you, this is why I do it, because the old way was people would do their labor materials and then they say, hey, I'll just mark it up 40%. And they used to run with it. But when you do it the way it's supposed to be done, you see that 192, you're leaving money on the table when it should have been 202 or 205 or 206. I've seen this for the last 20 years until people became my clients and start having a lot higher bid rate, becoming more profitable. Just the same thing we did. Like this was a concrete sidewalk. This concrete sidewalk plan became this. That from the DOT or from the city of Memphis or whatever, you take that plan sheet and it becomes this. And then you'll see where I have my costs and then I have my price. Just what we just went over. You need to start doing that. Let's do this. I'm gonna do this, Cedric. I hope it don't take too long, but look at this and this will get your attention real quick. This is an example I'm gonna do, and you can do the same thing with a piece of equipment or anything, but I'm doing it as just a little game that I put together to let kind of see people understand this. So this story about Elaine. Elaine works for a big company in Nashville. She is considered an expert in her field, whatever that might be. Her dream is to be her own boss, okay? Her question, if I start my own consulting practice, what would be my hourly charge rate? So Victor, the consultant, asked her, what do you want or need to live comfortably? So she thinks about it. She says, well, currently I have a salary of $60,000 a year as a full-time, and I want to at least maintain that or increase that salary. Okay, so we put together her budget. So our salary is $60,000. Let's say the payroll taxes is $4,800. We're not considering rent or utilities right now. Office supplies, business license, auto expense, the advertising expense, business development, education, donations you want to make. So it comes to $74,000. She's not considering rent or utilities right now because she's going to be rented out of her house or her apartment. So we're saying out of the year, there's 2,080 hours out of the year. So if I take that 60,000 divided by 2080, I get $28.85 an hour. But if I look at the total expenses that she's going to have, if I take that 74,000 divided by 2080, her charge rate now, just budgeting, is $35.58 per hour. But in consulting in any business, you're not going to work the total 2080, right? Statistics says when we do things, whether it's construction or professional services, on average, studies have showed about 60% of your time is productive. 60% to 65% of your time is productive. So we said, so out of that 2080 hours, working hours in a year, Elaine is only going to be busy 1,330 hours on client work. The other time she's marketing or she's going shopping. She's probably marketing or doing something to prepare for the next client. She's not going to work the 20. She's going to work only 1,300 hours. So now that base becomes $45 an hour, but with all her expenses, now it becomes $55.64 an hour. But we're not through yet. So we see here that we calculate her loaded rate of 56.40, but her loaded rate to charge clients is $75 an hour or plus. So if she charges her clients $100 an hour and her cost is 56, pretty good, right? Let's move on to the next one. So she says, hey, now she tells her girlfriend. So now let's look at 5 years later and see what it would look like. She has a direct labor of a tech, A, B, C, and D. These are employees. It could be whatever. This is what they're making a year. This is what their hourly rate is. Their billable rate is 80 with a profit of 96. Where did I get all this? Well, her annual budget now is she's paying herself $150,000 a year now. Payroll taxes 31, benefits, insurance, and all that's 15. Her rent, she got a little office now, 12, utilities 10, office supplies 5. Going down the list. Now she got a total indirect cost. The indirect that she's not doing the work, but she's supporting tech A, B, C, and D. Is $258,000. Now, you see what I did here. If you look at if you look at the percent of direct labor, what I did here, just kind of look, is I took the 235,000 divided by the 235,000 because it's based on direct labor. That's 100%. If I take the 258,500 and divide it by the direct labor, because the direct labor is the base, it's 110%. So her wrap rate markup is 210% or 2.1. So if you take the base rate of 38,000 multiplied by 2.1, it becomes the billable rate of this $80,000 employee becomes $80 an hour. And you can see her billable rate is 151, but she wants to make a 20% profit. So her rate on her text was 28% profit, and this rate takes care of all this overhead here. This right here takes care of the salary. This rate takes care of the salary and the overhead. This rate takes care of the salary, overhead, and profit. So now that tech that was a $38 an hour employee now becomes $96 or $97 an hour billable. Elaine's rate billable is $166 an hour. Everybody see that? And so that's one of those exercises that people go through to say, it's about budgeting and about profitability. And a lot of time I've seen people they just look at that hourly rate here and not really go through all this exercise to get the billable rate. And whether you're in construction or sales or trucking, I mean, you can do the same thing on, for example, just real quick, you can take your truck and add up, and I do it, it's a workshop that I do, I got all those calculated. Take the cost of the truck, cost of the fuel, cost of grease, cost of repairs, cost of tires, cost of your driver, and the expenses. Take that yearly cost, add it all up, even the loans, add it all up, and divide it by the number of hours that truck was in productivity, and you'll get your true hourly rate. But then you got to add profit and overhead to it, just like we did to get the billable rate for that truck. Whether it's a dump truck or it's an over the road, it's the same calculate. It's the same thing that we kind of did here, but you're using assets. I think I'm running out of time, Cedric. Yeah, I said, so the homework assignment is this. You do one of two things. If you got a service, can you detail your service out? Can you do a basic estimating framework like we did that spreadsheet that look at all your labor, equipment, materials, and any subcontract and their rates? You don't have to do anything, just do the chart. Just like I did that concrete chart. If I do concrete, your homework would be my labor, my materials, equipment, and how many I need and what that rate would be. And that's it. Or go back and look at your 2023 or 24 and create a budget like Elaine and come up with those rates. Do the best you can. You don't have to be accurate, just see if you can go through the exercise. Some people give up because they don't want to look at these numbers. Like on a simple case, what we started with Elaine was just that. But that $55 an hour, we saw it turned into 75 or plus. But can you do, so what is it that you do, and can you detail it to see what it truly costs you to do that? I'll stop there, Cedric, because these numbers can, I can go all night on these numbers, and I know no one had that type of energy. But I've seen this work. I've seen profitability. I know what profit looks like. I know what it takes to get there. And I think each person on this call knows what to get there, is that because you already know this. You know this about your business. You just got to put it on paper, and you might have to make some adjustments here and there. But it can be done if you're interested in profitability and really understanding, how to build wealth in your company. Cedric?
Thank you, Victor. We have any questions? I do not see any in the chat.
May I ask a
Yeah.
question? I'm standing in for Lamont Harris. I'm the secretary for Harris and Associates. And so thank you for going back to the homework screen. I just wanted to ask him what was the main objective for the homework once again?
Can we detail out what we do? Just, like, for instance, if someone like example here, if I do concrete sidewalks, I have a concrete sidewalk client that never detailed out he's been very profitable, but I helped them detail out that spreadsheet. And so the thing is, what is it that you do? Can you detail out what it cost you to do your work? And do you really understand? And so the homework is, do I understand my costs and am I adequately marking it up properly to make money? Or if you're a consultant, it's the same thing. I'm just one person. I sell insurance. How many insurance policies at this price do I need to sell to have $150,000 salary? Actually it's the same exercise. If you're an engineer, the example I did with Elaine, I've done that same exercise for a two-person architect firm. A little bit more detail, but it's the same. If you're in sales, you are a supplier, you do drop ship. It's the same thing, because now you're working on how much do I need to mark up those supplies that I'm selling to company X. I got to go through this exercise because then I gotta forecast what type of revenue I'm trying to reach. Then that tells you the volume that you need to get to maintain the salary and to cover all your costs. It's a little bit different calculation, but it's about the same. So it's just going through it and see if you can do it. And most of the time people will have great difficulty in doing this. It's just, again, it's exercise. It's not about getting it right. It's just, can I even do it? And when people do this, when we help them go through this, their profitability increases quite a bit. So what kind of work do Harrison Associates do?
It is construction.
Is it a general contractor or you got a specialty?
Mainly pertaining to residential projects when it comes to
Remodel?
remodeling, and then but looking to venture into and broaden, the scope of work even into commercial projects. So.
Now, will you do residential work as a GC, or do y'all self-perform?
When you say set up a form,
Self-perform is that you actually you got the labor is on your payroll and you buy the material and you pay the laborers and you take out payroll taxes.
It varies.
It varies. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, you would need to do this on every type of project you do. You get a sample project and go get an old project and redo the estimate by creating
May I ask
details.
who's asking the question?
Yes, my name is Paula Harris. I'm actually I'm the secretary for the company, but I'm also Lamont Harris's wife.
Okay, just want to make sure.
Yeah, take an old estimate and go through detail, because where you gonna find the detail for an old estimate, an old job? Where you gonna find detail at? It should be in your accounting.
Okay. Yes. Well, yes.
Yeah.
As far as all of the pay rates and all of these different rates,
Materials and everything
and labor, all of that. Yeah.
Yeah, and where your accounting should be set up is that when you do a job, when you buy things, everything that's bought for that job is put into QuickBooks in that job.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just given in general. It is if you did 10 jobs, if you did 10 remodeling jobs last year, you could easily have 10 profit and loss statements inside of QuickBooks for each job. That's job costs. And so you can have 10 profit and loss, and it's all collapsed into one because you have separated each job as their own profit and loss. And again, it's a way that you do that is not cumbersome, but it can be done if you take your time and do it. And so that basically you probably could do that on an old estimate. Just take an old estimate that you did and create detail in it. Because I don't
Okay,
know how you estimate now, but yeah,
okay. Thank you.
you're welcome.
I wanted to ask a question also. About the trucking. You were saying, I heard you say add up your yearly costs, everything, right?
Mhm.
Pretty much. And you said divided by the number of hours what the truck was in service.
Yeah,
I didn't hear the end of that.
no, that you're right. You're
Uh,
exactly right.
can you do that also with the miles?
Oh, yeah, you can do it with miles too.
Okay,
Sure can.
and get the cost. Okay, thank you.
Yeah,
That
you're
was, that
welcome.
was it. All right.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, because if you do
Well,
it in miles, that could tell you if you probably need to bump your rate up on a per mile basis too by 2
Right.
or 3 pennies. It will make a difference. Yeah.
I wanted to also note that when we're done with the sessions, the prescriptive plan is when you guys rank the top 5 areas that is important to you, and that way we either will have, if there's enough people, another session on that topic, or you speak with them one-on-one for counseling with the particular instructor. So if they're estimating bidding right here is major to you, and when you rank that your prescriptive plan, you will be to individually speak with that Mr. Tyler. That's after our sessions, classes. Does that make sense?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Does
Okay.
that cost anything?
This the end of all our questions?
I don't
It
see any
is.
more in the chat. I don't see any
It's
more in the chat.
9:10. You have your homework right there. Assignment. We're going to wrap it up. Next class is next Tuesday. All right.
Good night,
Good
everybody.
night. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody.
Hi, thank you.
Thanks. Thanks, Victor.
You're welcome.
I see you Tuesday.
Yeah, we'll see you bright and early.
Yeah. Are all of our companies coming? Are you guys coming to the T-Dot conference that y'all register? DBE and Small Business Conference?
Absolutely. We'll be in the building.
Okay, good.
Who is that?
Where is this gonna be at?
It's me, man.
Nashville. That's Patterson Enterprises. Say
Yes,
yes.
ma'am.
I will be there. Come by our table.
Don't be acting funny.
Yeah, it's the T.
You know we
It's
have a
the
class that night, though. Do you know we have a class that you're gonna have to step away from the networking to go log in?
It's fine.
We'll be through by then. We'll be through by. It's the
Yes.
T-Dot DBE Small Business Annual Meeting being held in Nashville at the Sonesta Airport Hotel. It's all day. And pretty much it's all about T-Dot's $15 billion funding for next 10 years on roads, bridges, including city and county type work as well. Is just understanding how they do business, and it's a lot of projects, a lot of different type of projects out there now, and some of that money is going to the city of Memphis, is going to some of the smaller counties. TDOT is not going to have all that money. They got to filter that out to some of the cities as well. So it's an opportunity to kind of learn that, plus network. And they're not going to talk. I think soon TDOT will have a meeting in September to talk about the I-55 bridge, the $850 million project to happen. There will be a meet and greet on that in September, but that'll be information to share a little bit later.
And I think last year our Excelente trucking, she's not on now. Vantina, she was on spot, had a certification, had everything in order. And Miss Jessica Starlings, yes, she was looking for a minority trucking company with dump trucks. She had them and got a contract on the spot.
Very good.
It was Durham Construction at that time, I think, Durham. Yeah,
Okay.
so you never know. Right, Mr. Tyler, because Tyler is the one who worked with supportive services of TDOT.
Yeah, never know. Show up.
Very, very good conference. It's very good. I
Thank you.
promise.
Thank you.
Okay then, so good night for you guys that stayed on and heard me. You guys mentioned that about the TDOT conference, and you had to go online and register. I think it's still open. Is it still open, Tyler?
We just closed it, but Jessica's told that if you want to walk up, because everything's free. You don't have to, it don't cost you
Yes.
anything unless you spend a night. You got to pay that.
Yes,
But you can do walk up registration if you're really interested.
and let
if
them know when you walk up registration. Let them know you in Tyler, Victor Tyler's class. And they'll look at that. We'll have them on standby, thinking that maybe 2 or 3 of our classmates may come up at the last minute.
Yeah,
But it's
and
best.
just reach out to me. You know, just mention say, could you get Victor for me? But it should be all okay because we talked about some stuff in advance anyway. So
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
All right, good night, everybody.
Thank you.
thank you.
Good night, everyone.
All right, bye-bye.